It's Gobshite tonight. Show respect, don't start a fight. With all the gimmicks you love to see, and some jokes understood by Reese Kennedy. So grab a drink and do what's right. All the cool kids are watching Gobshite tonight.
I was looking for a glass. Yeah, thank you. Oh, I can't hear you either. Maybe that's one, two. Can you hear me? Can't hear you, so I guess it doesn't bode well. Why? 1, 2, 1, 2.
Change of plan. Desktop audio, mic auxiliary should be advanced audio properties. Mic auxiliary properties. Default Yeti. Okay, we might have something better now. Can you hear me? Yes. Right. Cool. Vince, can you hear me? Have I Have I gained a voice and Vince lost a voice? We've changed microphone. You can hear me now? Cool. All right. Then, with the prerequisite 5 minutes of technical issues that we do live every time, because that is fun, welcome. Vince is now an audible.
1 2 1 2. Can you hear me?
He's back now. Yes.
Yeah.
I can hear you, Vince. You can hear me. The show will go on. Whammer
Excellent.
is joining us very shortly, but yes, Vince, thank you very much for joining us tonight and all the work you did on the presentation.
Oh, I didn't do much, really. It's a team effort.
It's a lot of effort chasing people for on and off again. Yeah.
It is my privilege. I love doing this.
Yeah, it's good fun, isn't it? Right, so let's get underway. Whammer will be joining us hopefully soon. Can't wait for Whammer to break the audio. Yeah, that's going to be fun. So we've got a question from the chat. What is this show about? This show is we're going to go through all the teams drafted kind of so far this season. We're going to talk a lot of shit about them. We're going to put them on a tier maker that looks like this. We're going to drop the teams in, and then we're going to have a lot of fun arguing about which team is better than the other one, even though it's all down to Football Manager's random match engine and we have no control over anything. But as Cole pointed out the other day, you can just do this randomly a million times and still be better than Vince at it over and over again.
I'm more than happy to be that entry that makes everyone feel better about themselves.
Yeah, me too. So let's jump on with the presentation. So this is the third year, it's the fourth year now, of the Italy World Cup cycle. We're doing some stuff. Yeah, that's exciting, isn't it? World Cup cycle is happening. It looks like Surreal are probably going to win it, but Manx in Black could make a difference there. And
yeah, absolutely. And I have to say, I believe it's the first time. It's not like there's a lot of legacy to the Gobshite League yet, but the dominance that Surreal has had over the past 3 seasons is astonishing. Even more considering where they came from.
Yeah. They've been very, very good all through this World Cup cycle. So it will be interesting to see what happens next World Cup cycle when they don't have Ciro Immobile, or they might have Ciro Immobile, but he's probably going to be a first round pick, which means he goes back into the pool every time. So yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting seeing what happens after the reset season, because it is the reset. Off you go.
I was just saying the Ciro Immobile thing for season 10 is going to be, I think, as interesting as the Luis Suarez one for season 6, as Luis Suarez was one of the best players of the first World Cup cycle playing for Barcelona. He had been taken in pick 2 probably of the very second season, and therefore Stefan had been able to, I don't know why he pronounced Stefan like if he was German, but Stefan had been able to keep with Suarez throughout the whole World Cup cycle.
Yeah.
Although probably being great, and I'm sure Reece could confirm that, he hasn't been as impactful this World Cup cycle as he had been in the first one. So I'm curious to see if it's going to be the same trend for Immobile in season 10.
It's definitely very interesting. And yeah, because it's the last season of the World Cup cycle, we're going back to Montserrat. We're managers, when they get sacked, are being thrown into volcanoes, which is exciting, isn't it? So if your manager gets sacked, they are dead. Can't be hired by anyone else until they're all brought back to life at the end of the season. But that's still a bit of excitement, a little bit of added pressure that the managers don't necessarily know about.
So have I successfully broken the audio?
I don't think so. I think you've just slid right in perfectly on time. So we're all good right now.
Cool.
Excellent. Welcome to the show, James Walmsley.
Thank you very much for having me. It's an honour.
Well, miraculously, the audio lives. Yes, we're 10 minutes in now. We had audio issues to start with, but now we're plain sailing straight in to the duck pond. Last season's winners, they've got basically the same team again. I think we have to eat a little bit of crow, a little bit of duck, and say we got this one wrong last time and put them very near the bottom, but actually it's a very good team.
Yes, well, yeah, the results definitely prove this, I guess. And it's going to be interesting to see if they're going to be able to do a repeat. I can't think of a team other than Surreal, and I guess to an extent Maxim Black, who's been fielding similar teams from one season to the other and has had consistent results out of it, even less when winning the league. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see if the Ducks can do the repeat. And I love the idea of season 9 being the duck hunt season.
Yeah. George says it looks unremarkable. Lucky to make the split. What do you think, Whammer? What do you think of the team Reese has pulled together this time around?
I mean, like you said, it is basically exactly the same team as the last one. So based on the rules of Football Manager, I'm going to say it's going to be terrible and won't make the split.
Wow. Okay, so...
It was good last year.
Yeah.
You don't get to be good 2 years in a row with the same players.
Yeah.
That undermines the entire conceit of the league.
Okay. So where do we want to put them? If we're saying that they're actually terrible, are we putting them 12th, 13th, 14th, 9th, 10th, 11th? Higher?
To be fair, I don't think they're actually terrible.
No.
I think I don't think they'll win this time. I think that they overperformed slightly from some expected opposition not doing so well. But I'd say probably sort of like, one of the two you're hovering between.
Well, we'll put them in at 6, 7, 8 for the time being, and we'll maybe move them around a bit later when Reese gets back from the cinema and shouts at us for putting him in 6th. Or lower.
Yes.
Yeah. Is there anything else we want to say? Off you go.
Bottom line is we think they make the split.
Yeah. And I suppose we can just talk about this now openly, because we haven't really had a proper forum for the... We've discussed the split a lot in chat, but we've not actually had an actual conversation, an audio conversation. I think the split worked really well in the last season to cut down the number of pointless games. I'm just wondering, obviously I was on the right side of the split and you two were on the wrong side of the split. So what were your thoughts about them, if Whammer, you want to start?
I mean, first of all, from a selfish perspective, I don't think it would have really significantly changed where the Pythons finished. We were not finishing higher than like 12th or 13th or whatever anyway. So I didn't feel like bothered by it at all, really. It added a bit of drama, sort of at that 2/3 point in the league of who was and wasn't going to make the split, which was cool. But yeah, otherwise, I appreciated the second half of the season being shorter because, it made the finishing section feel more like a sprint, which was cool. It kept all the teams closer together. It gave us cool stuff going down on the final day that might not necessarily have been the case if we'd had more game time. I liked it, and I wasn't in favour of it before because I'm a very boring traditionalist. Everyone should just play each other twice and that's it type person. But fuck it, it's Gobshite. It made sense.
All right, and Vince, do you want to follow that up with how you feel about the split?
Well, I wasn't too hot on the split before. I wouldn't say that I very much warmed up to it now. I understand the purpose, and in the context where only the first place matters, I'm like, sure, why not? In that case, having a nice run from that 10, 11, 12, so that 11, 12, 13 position up until 5, 6, 7 is kind of irrelevant as appreciable it can be for some teams. That being said, if only the first place matter, can we just not cut it proper short and go for a playoff after the first half of the season? That when it comes to bringing drama, then you're really starting with a crazy split and the type of drama we've seen before. And after that, the direct elimination games certainly will bring them that as well. So I'd say, sure, it's a first step in some direction. I'm not strongly against it per se. I'd like it to go further. Then why not have proper playoffs at the end? Like do 19 games, then playoffs with the top 8, something like this. And why not top playoffs with the bottom 12 to see how they rank, something like this. But yeah, we want drama, bring direct elimination.
Interesting. Yeah, it's definitely something we can consider for future seasons. So, just now we've got that hot potato topic out of the way, let's talk about the Brigstock Big Cocks, who, I think it's fair to say, against all odds, were properly good last season.
What do you mean against all odds? We've called them being good forever, and finally they were.
It has taken them a while to get good, and I think we predicted them very low on the opportunity that it would spur them on to be good, and it seems to have worked.
Yeah, I like it when a plan comes together.
So, is lightning going to strike twice for the Big Cocks, or are they going to be falling right back down again?
Sorry, you go, Vince.
If I may, I have a similar feeling when I look at this team as I have when I look at Reese's team. As in, I wouldn't be transcended by it to start with. I wouldn't say it's bad by any kind of mean, but I wouldn't see them like in the top 5 of the league. But last year was the same. I've been proven wrong. So is that a top 5, 16? Does it make the split? I don't know. They do have Alex ... so I guess that's a point for them.
Yeah. I am not sold on a midfield 3 of Dybala, Kante and Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain. I think there's one weaker name there that maybe Oxlade, etc. isn't doing enough.
That's interesting because I really like that midfield 3. I think Alex ... is not like a superstar name or anything, but I think alongside Kante he should do a good job in that team.
Interesting.
Yeah, I was specifically going to highlight that as a strength.
Oh.
I mean, when you look at it, the whole spine of the team, Ederson is one of the best keepers in the game. Van Dijk, one of the best centre-backs. Thiago Silva still has a few good months before he starts to decline, I guess. And yeah, like Kante, Dybala, Vardy, that's very forward leaning. So I don't know, like very route 1 football, you'd say?
I feel like the downgrade from Kane to Vardy is quite large. And I can't quite remember who was in the Kante role last season. Was it Ndidi?
Dave's had Kante all World Cup cycle.
Yeah, so Kante, I'm just not sure with... Who was Dave's round 1 pick then? Was it Van Dijk? Yeah, it must have been Van Dijk. I'm not sold on this team being quite as good as last season's team. But it seems like we might have a little bit of disagreement here. So where do we think they're going in the tier maker?
I will say one quick thing on Kane is that while Harry Kane is great and he had his best season with Dave, he is still not, like, he consistently underperforms in this game. He got 12 goals last season, and I don't know the exact number off the top of my head, but I'm going to guess that most of them were penalties, which is the point that Mike's just made in the chat. So when it comes to open play goals, I actually don't think Kane to Vardy will be that much of a downgrade. Like, Iñaki Williams got as many goals as Harry Kane did last season, and Dave's kept Iñaki Williams. So
yeah, that's what I was about to point out as well. Kane didn't do that well last season. Vardy scored 12 goals, but at the WBA. So if he has a better entourage this year, can he do better? Can he do better than Harry Kane? Some chances of that, no?
Yeah, so good points. I could be swung around there. So where are we putting them? I don't think this team is better than Reese's team, but I feel
I
like
would say put him one place above Reese to annoy Reese was going to be
Oh.
my position.
Last season, the Ducks and the BBC were just built to win soft penalties, and it was a driving point behind our success. All right. If I can work out how to make better refs, we might suffer. Well, that's some stuff straight from the league commissioner. So we'll put them in 6, 7, 8 because there's definitely teams I like. Just having already looked through the presentation a couple of times, I like more than the BBC. So we'll put them there for now, and maybe we'll have a shuffle as we go through some more. Next,
I will say I've not looked through this presentation even for one bit. So I do professional work preparing.
Okay, and we have next our third place team, the new boys, Illuminati. This is the joke slide. I forgot about that. Benassa is on every position because he plays all over the pitch. Ismail Benassa. Anyway, real slide. I've definitely wrote content for these lads. Right, is Illuminati, what do we think? They were quite good last season and they seem to have got better? Or was it just was Benassa's incredible season just a freak of the game that was like a magic high roll that we won't see again, and actually Benassa and Arthur's quite a disappointing 2 out of 3 in a midfield?
Yeah, I suspect that Benassa's season last season was like SMS's one season, where he won't be bad, but he won't be that good again.
Yeah, I would agree with that. That being said, the team, like who is it in the chat? Adam. I looked at the back five, and it's true that it's not the sexiest back five of the league. To add to that, Benassa, who might not have another season as strong as what it just had, like it doesn't look really well. But they have Ronaldo, and like Ronaldo can carry a team over a season to like at least a split and probably even a 5th or 6th position quite easily.
Reese raises a good point that this might be the worst team Ronaldo has played on, and he's played at Arbor Red twice and Manchester twice, which is, I'm quite offended by that, but he was terrible when he played for us. Yeah,
it's interesting because Liam has been talking up this team compared to his previous one quite a lot, and I do think that this is just not. It doesn't look very impressive to me. I think downgrading Fernandinho to Arthur as the holding midfielder is pretty big. I don't think Benassa will do as well as he did last season. Ronaldo is obviously a little bit of an upgrade on top 10, probably.
Yeah.
But yeah, equally, top 10 had his best season of Gobshite history last season. So, like, even if Ronaldo is an upgrade on what we think of for top 10, he will be an upgrade on what top 10 was last season, but not by as much as you'd think from comparing those two players. And yeah, even if he got Kimpembe an entire round later than George did, it was still. It's not the most inspiring centre-back pairing in this league. Like, we were just talking down Dave's team, and he had Van Dijk and Thiago Silva as his back two.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Out of curiosity, I don't really realize, has Verratti been remarkable at any point in the Gobshite League? I can't remember him being a talking point.
Yeah, he was in the Chilean Menace team when they were winning stuff.
Yeah, he was a player of the season caliber player when Chilean Menace won the double. He was incredible. Yeah, and as Mike points out, top 10 had his best season last season, again because he was the penalty taker for the team, and there were loads of penalties. Like every first choice penalty taker had their best season ever, except for maybe Sergio Ramos, because they took loads of penalties. So let's keep the pace up and let's drop these lads into a tier. I think they're bubbling. Just sitting around that 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. I think Ronnie probably just pips them into the split like he did for Arbor Red last season. Yeah,
I think that's probably a good comparison point.
I would agree with that, and at the same time, I would find it a very interesting hot take if we put Ronaldo below the split.
You want to put Ronaldo below this? Well, I mean, Ronaldo's finished. I don't know if he's finished bottom of the league before, but he's definitely been on relegation caliber teams before. So he only escaped finishing bottom on the last day at Maychester one season.
He has finished bottom in season 3.
Yeah, so it's not unheard of for Ronnie to be the best player on a bad team.
Yeah, we think of Ronnie as being like really good. He has I'm just looking at the player success thing, and he has been in a team that's won the league and in a team that's finished second in the league, but the next best position was Arbor Red in season 1, which barely counts, and the next best after that was 8th. So he's not the guaranteed success we all think of him as. It's just that in back-to-back seasons, teams he was on finished second and first, so it's sort of he's been elevated in all of our memories because of that.
So is that an argument to actually maybe put him just below the split, like 11th?
We can see where that ends up as we fill up the brackets. So let's move on to the Manx in Black. We didn't have Ronnie season 1, so half the season he's been a waste of binning. Yeah. So the Manx in Black, they have once again kept Pep Guardiola despite talking shit about him all season. I forgot to write a strength for them because I thought it was boring. Salah, Rashford, De Vrij. They need to finish 7 places higher than Surreal to win the World Cup cycle. And to do that, they need to have Bobby Firmino having the absolute season of his life, presumably. What do we think?
Looking at the team like that, it does look strong. And when you know the history of the Manx in Black, they're very stable at the top of the league. But Firmino hasn't been the strongest player in the game. Salah is still to have one tremendous season. I mean, I can't remember him being stellar really ever, like first round pick kind of stellar. I might be wrong there. I'll let you or Riz check on this. The rest of the team looks strong. Like Ter Stegen, one of the best keeper in the game. The Fridge, like they all look pretty strong. But it does feel like it's just gonna fall a little bit too short to really contend for the title again.
I'll say on the Salah front, other than one season at Arbor Red, he's always scored at least 11 goals. And in recent seasons, he's been getting a pretty... if you combine goals and assists, he's usually been averaging at least 20. So that's not, tippy-toppy, best of anyone type levels, but he's consistently pretty damn good.
Yeah.
Sorry, what did you say? How many goals did he score?
He usually scores he's scored at least 11 every season except one, and he's been recently getting a fair amount of assists as well. That said, I think Firmino as lone striker has never worked, and I say that as someone who's been the person trying it multiple times.
Yeah, if anyone has experience of Bobby Firmino, lone striker, trying to make it work, it's you, Wemmer. We've seen it so many times with Martyrs or Python's teams just trying to relying on Firmino and it just not really working. So it'll be.
So Salah has never got lower than 11 other than one season. Firmino has never got above 6 other than one season. And it's not like Firmino gets loads of assists or player of the matches to make up the count there. Like combined goals and assists, the highest Firmino's ever got was 12.
Yeah. So chat has been similarly cruel, or not cruel, but chat has been similarly dismissive of this Manx team. We've got this is the worst Manx team. This is a mess. So, with all that said, where are we dropping the Manx? Are they so bad that they're not making the cut, or have they got just enough to sneak into the cut? Is that like pet magic going to work? Or
I see them between.
Sorry, you go ahead.
I do see them between 4 and 8. I do think they're not going to concede that much. I agree that they're not going to score that many goals, and I believe that's what is going to stop them from contending for the title. But I believe it's going to get them to the split, and I wouldn't be surprised if they finish like 5-6, something like that.
Wow.
Yeah, because the thing is that while Firmino as lone striker is consistently a terrible idea in this format, I actually really like most of the rest of their team. So it's tough to say. Like Jake exclusively, like what is the worst Jake has ever done? Because I'm guessing it's pretty damn good. I think, the lowest Jake has ever finished in a season which he's participated in, this is 7th. So even if we're saying this is the worst Manx team yet, then I still think he'll be top half.
Yes, I agree with that.
Okay. I feel odd putting them on the same rank as BBC and Los Patos. So I'm going to drop them in 9 and 10, because I just don't think and unless I've been harsh on these two teams, which is definitely possible, I think both these teams are better than that team. So I'm going to drop them there for now, and maybe what actually needs to happen is we need to bump them, but we'll leave that for the time being. As we move on to Surreal Madrid, everyone's a crowd favourite team. I feel like everyone just seems to get behind Surreal for their antics in previous seasons that are now that Hadley's tried quite hard for 4 seasons. It's still not. We don't resent it because he had that wonderful Newcastle season and the wonderful all-striker season. So what do we think of this team?
I mean, it's the same team Hadley's done well with in the last 3 seasons, near enough, right?
It is, yes.
I want to put them in second.
Yeah, I think it's a very good team. I think Adam is saying that back 5 is a joke, but I don't think there's really an issue with it. Maybe Shaw and Bellerin aren't the elite kind of fullbacks that you're looking for, but you can't have an entirely elite team, and that front, the midfield and the attacking talent is just off the charts.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. My favorite, personally. I'm still a big fan of Immobile. I like Insigne. Dembele has always been very serviceable in the league. So after that, Pogba, Fernandes, just definitely looking good for me.
All right, so lots of glowing reviews. Let's not hang about. Let's just whack them in somewhere. Let's put them in second, third for the time being, and we'll jump about based on that.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Cool. Right. Next. The unbelievable team that is Millwall. They take my breath away. Mark, by his own admission, hasn't really considered anything that just drops in, picks a player, and then goes, yeah, I'll just get another left back. Left backs all around. But it works. They're consistently in the top half of the league. They're consistently they just do it. So I can't see a reason why they won't do it again.
Yeah, like Georgia's managed to find a way of taking the players Mark drafted and putting them in a like recognizable like formation in which it's good and pretty much everyone's playing in a sensible position. And then when you look at the players that he's got, they're all pretty damn good players. So yeah, Millwall will do what they always do, just with loads of fullbacks on the bench for some reason.
Yeah, just as teams are getting tired, we'll throw another fullback on and just wear them down a little bit more. Okay, so I think we're all...
George has got a lot of rides on their manager's preferred formation. It's true, you can imagine Mark like finding someone who plays like 3-4-3 or something.
Yeah, no fullbacks. We don't need them. Okay, so let's whack these. Just in the split. In fact, I'm going to do this. I think that seems about right. Millwall at 10th. Let's just drop them in there and see what happens. All right, so there's not much more we can say about Millwall. It's classic Millwall. I can't wait to see what happens. Tiki Taka Toa. One of their another. Have I done that right? Yes. Another narrow, very midfield packed formation for TTT. Yeah, not a lot of width, and just all the midfielders. What do we think?
I do like how this season someone has understood that Modric was getting old and wanted to surround him by players to protect him in midfield, and crafted that formation for that. I find it very funny. Other than this, I mean, it's a decent team when you look at it. Like, it's definitely going to be average somewhere, and probably just 10 or 11 either side of the split.
Yeah, Whammer, any thoughts? Obviously, they've got Messi.
Yeah, like Messi's usually pretty like, you know, he'll do most of the work himself. I think Mike is going to need Parejo and Mahrez to contribute a lot, because like I'm not expecting Modric and Saul and Valverde to push on into the box very much. I'm sounding way too serious. It's a weird formation. I know Mike likes just packing the midfield and just doing weird shit. Ideally, I think he would have liked his fullbacks to literally just be wide midfielders.
Yeah.
But we couldn't find a formation in the game that didn't use fullbacks or wingbacks or wide midfielders. Like he just wanted to have wingers and otherwise no width whatsoever. We couldn't find that, unfortunately, so he had to settle for taking some boring fullbacks. But yeah, it's going to be very interesting because I really don't have a clue how to analyse it.
Yeah, and a lot of people are pointing out that Mandy might be the issue here as a possible weak point on the team. Which
I will say, I think in the past we've seen Saul get shifted into right back sometimes when he's been in other teams. So depending on who else Mike has in centre mid, that might be what happens. Saul might be Tiki Taka Toa's for Fabinho.
Interesting. Yeah, I'm almost looking at it going, do I want Parejo up on the left wing and Mahrez up on the right? And then it's just a bit more of a standard 4-3-3. And it looks like a very different team then. It's just, with that formation being what it is, it just looks strange. So,
it's also worth noting, we've got the slide is slightly outdated. It says manager TBC. It's worth noting that the manager's name is Seaman.
Yeah. So on that note, where do we think they're going to come?
10 or 11.
10 or 11. Let's whack them in there.
Yeah, you've got to think they'll make a splash.
Right. That is some Muckiness, just in case you were missing any muckiness. You have a manager. Worst side we've seen so far. Well, we have put them the worst so far, so they could drop down. Los Rios. Los Rios. Adam, we're here. We're talking about you. We went properly two-footed on Los Rios last time and said they were quite shit, and then they made fools of us all by being good. What do we think of Los Rios this season?
Quite shit.
I think.
I don't know.
Off you go, Vince.
They have Mane, which has consistently performed in the league. If I'm correct, Wijnaldum and Busquets are two very decent MCs in the game as well, who I think is a good DC. Like, of course, they have Morata and Jesus up front, and maybe that might be too light in goals, but like, I would see them somewhere middle of the pack. Probably somewhere around 7 to 8.
Oh, I'd have them lower than that. Like, I think Mane puts a floor on how low we can put them, because Mane just always is great, regardless of what team he's in. But they're playing, like, assuming they line up how Adam actually wants them to line up, they're playing two centre mids who are both on the older side, and while they do have two strikers up front, when the better of the two strikers is Morata, it's a very questionable side.
Yeah, I think those two strikers are bad. The wingers, excellent. The midfielders, again, they've both been good. Busquets has been part of an excellent FC Sers team that won the league a couple of seasons ago. I think that was season 4 or 5. The back four, I don't know why, but Daley Blind now just seems to be the hallmark for me of I have not focused on defence early enough. It happened with Calvin last season, where he had Daley Blind in there, and it just makes you think that if Daley Blind is one of your starting centre-backs, you've made a mistake. But Adam does point out that it should be a 4-3-3.
He's the one who gave the formation.
Yeah. I think he just wants to throw as much chaos in so that we get it wrong.
If we assume that Jesus is the backup for Morata and there's either a Mendy in the midfield, say, then my criticism then pivots to a lone striker who is worse than Firmino at being a lone striker.
All right, let's. Oh, off you go, Vince.
I agree with James. I do think the team, if Mane plays the usual way he plays, I do think he can do work even with either Morata or Jesus as a lone striker and get them past the split. That would be my take.
I don't think they'll make it past the split myself. All
right. Well, we'll drop them in 12, 13, 14, and my team's got 15 out of... Anna says he's got 15 goals out of Martial and Jimenez. So we'll see. We'll see if you can get 15 goals out of Morata and Gabriel Jesus. All I'm going to say is Weasels couldn't last season. All right. Where are we going next? Hey! It's everyone's favourite team. Or no one's favourite team. It's Manchester United. Here we are. Getting really into the kind of middle of the pack teams here. I really like my team, but I don't think they're going to do very well. So I'll throw to Whammer. What do you think?
I really like your team. Oh. I think that it's got it's just got loads of players who are consistently pretty good to great in Gobshite. I think that you'll concede a lot of penalties. And Neuer is pretty damn good, but he won't be able to save them all. I think if Duvan performs how he did it, especially in sort of like the second half of last season. Then you'll be scoring goals, but I think you'll do your usual thing of getting quite a lot of 0-0s. I definitely think you're going to be a top half finish. I think Raul Garcia sticks out as like you want someone who, like, yeah, you want a better player to link the midfield to with the front two, I think. But otherwise, I think Chiesa is it Chiesa and then Perisic as the backup for left wing back?
Perisic is the backup for left wing back, yes.
I think that will work out really well. I look forward to being wrong about it, but I genuinely think that those wing back positions, like as long as they are actually tracking back to defend, I don't think they need to be actually good defenders. And I think that just being able to be part of attacks and do shit will help out a lot.
Oh. Well, and Vince, do you want to say nice things about me as well, or do you want to bring me back down?
I am a bit unsure. I do like the defense. I'm not too sure about the offense. I know Memphis has been good in the league. I'm sorry I didn't keep track of what Duvan Zapata has done so far. So I don't know whether you'll be able to get the most from an attacking point of view of your team. And I'd like to say that if the goal of the season is to acquire the most cards, I would put lack of on-pitch discipline as a strength, rather. In which case, I would definitely put you past the split for sure.
All right, so where are we dropping this team of reprobates? It seems like it's about there from what you both said, sneaking into the cup with 0-0s and draws.
You've still got the PowerPoint slide up, by the way.
I have not changed scene. Yeah, I feel like it's in 6, 7, 8. Best Manchester team in a long time. Is this the Gasparini formation? It is. I think it's the Gasparini formation. Or
yeah.
Yeah.
Or as Reese will probably call it in the chat, the Claude Leroy formation.
Yes. It plays the best formation. So we'll whack them comfortably in there, and we'll see what happens. Probably not a lot when everyone is useless. But I will just say, on the Raul Garcia point, he might not be the best player to play that role, but he is the player that the team was entirely built around. So, like, the first name on the team sheet after Casemiro was Raul Garcia in that number 10 attacking role. So
Raul Garcia, open brackets, for fuck's sake, not again, close brackets.
Yeah. Cool. Right, let's move on then to Arbor Red. Core very helpfully not gone for squad numbers here. He's given us positions so that we can see what position it is rather than just working it out based on where they are on the pitch. What do we think?
Well, honestly, looking at the team, what I see is the names I recognize as good football manager players are Lewandowski, of course, the tremendous Navas, and I have to admit, for the rest, of course, I know Kimmich and Goretzka are both very good, but I don't see any outstanding player, and I wonder if that isn't just slightly too low to make the cut.
Worth noting that Techatito is Jesus Manuel Corona, or Jesus Manuel Corona, depending on how you prefer to say it. And he, I believe, has had some pretty good seasons, although I might just be imagining it. And looking it up, he's actually got 6 goals in seasons 6, 7, and 8 combined, so I'm full of shit. I feel like he always does well.
It's not always just about goals.
It's not. I don't expect that Core will make the split because he's got the same problem the Pythons had last season of it's not a very good back three. And Pythons at least had a very good goalkeeper, whereas Rui P has sometimes been a good goalkeeper, but a lot of the time he hasn't.
A lot of the time he's been a very bad goalkeeper.
Yeah,
I think that's
I think it's like across 8 seasons, he's probably had like 2 good seasons, a couple of mediocre ones, and like 4 or 5 bad ones. And if Core hits on a good season, then he will probably do okay. If he has a bad Rui P season with those 3 defenders ahead of him, then I think he's going to struggle here.
What do we think, Vince?
Yes, basically what I said just before. I didn't know Tecatito was Corona, but even this way, I'm not too sure the average level is high enough to make the split.
Well, Core has dived in to say our back 3 and goalkeeper were worse last season.
Were they, though? Were they? Let me have a look.
Well, they had Ronnie last season as well, which can definitely help.
Yeah.
And the rest of the team is better too. Well, that's good to know. That's all we need to hear. They're better. So, where do we think they're going in?
Last season, Core had Pepe as his third centre back instead of Sula, and while Pepe is basically made of materials that don't exist in our reality anymore because he's so old, I still think Pepe's better than Sula. So I'd say this is a worse defence than last year. And Muslera versus Rui P for goalkeeper feels much of a muchness.
All right, so are they better than Hios, worse than Hios, just making the split? Are they better than Nilwall, better than Llamas? The Llamas bump up
Let
to
me
there.
just have a quick look at the Heroes again. I think I would put Arboret just below Heroes. Not to say that they will be much, much lower in the ranking, but I would put them under Heroes.
Interesting.
Sorry, I just saw George's update in the chat.
Yeah, we have an update from. We have an update. Mart has picked Maurizio Sarri, 4-3-1-2 narrow. Shall we? I think we might be able to do some fun there if we try. No, we're not going to build the Nilwall lineup because that's.
I think that's the formation I posted for them, right?
No, we had
4-3-1-2 narrow.
We had a 4-2-3-1 wide.
Yeah, absolutely. But I did put together a 4-3-1-2 for them, although probably not as good as the other. If you want to put it up, Jack, you can just put it back in the Facebook chat if you want to bring it up on your screen, or is that just too much for what we want to do?
I think we'll move on from Nilwall. But yeah, we're fine. Are we happy with Arboret there, or under Hios, or do we want to bump them higher?
I'd keep them where they are.
Keep them where they are. Anyone else tilted by the fact that 9, 10, 11 are grouped together? That's just how it is. Just how it is.
It's inconvenience, it's true, but that's something that's going to change for next season.
Yeah, we'll fix it next season, Reese. Don't worry about it. Why is there not a split in the predictions at 10? Didn't want to.
To be fair, until last season, and this is the first prediction since we knew it mattered, 10th versus 11th made no difference to anything, right? It's just the same template from before the split existed.
Fixed it. Well, I just fixed it, but I wasn't on the tier screen. So no, look, I fixed it. Easy. Come at me. Oh, and let's talk about the next team, I suppose. AFC Martyrs. The identity confused AFC Martyrs. We need to change that logo. Well, we're not going to, because that's more effort than we want to put in. What do we think of this team? Vlad Weiss's reinvention of Karim Benzema as a left winger. Fabian SMS and Tom Partey in midfield. Sergio Aguero up front. I mean, it worked last season. Can it work again? Or it worked last season against the jobber teams?
It won't work because this isn't proper. Like, this is unlikely to be the formation that actually gets played by Vice. Like, he basically, like, he did this from Benzema having dropped off last season. His default preferred formation in the game remains 4-4-2, and Nicky drafted him last season under the assumption he'd play Haaland and Benzema up front as a 2, and then fluked into Benzema being a really good left winger, and is now trying to pretend that he wants it to, be the plan this time. I think Vice will probably play 4-4-2. He'll drop Partey. He'll put Benzema and Aguero up front. He'll play Muller on the right, I guess, and Zielinski on the left, and the team will be shit. That's my prediction.
Well, I'm a strong, firm believer in Benzema. I do think the team is going to do better than we think, and I see them pass the split.
Didn't Vice play 4-2-3-1? Who knows?
You basically are pairing the second and the third best strikers into one team. It can only go right.
Nicky says he drafted a respectable 4-4-2 side just in case. I'm not sure how respectable it can be if Benzema is one of the 2 strikers. But that's all we're... I think trying to predict Vice's formation is a mug's game. Also interesting. But
yeah, what will actually happen is Vice will play Benzema, Aguero, and Muller up front as a 3, and occasionally throw, occasionally throw Varane up there as well.
So we're not impressed, or we are impressed? Are we putting them here, like that? I kind of feel like they're about there.
I'm happy to follow your lead on this, guys.
All right.
I don't think they'll make the split.
Okay, well, we've got a nice big grouping here in this 11, 12, 13, 14. So there's a lot of room for manoeuvring in there as teams slowly gets convoluted up here. So we can shuffle as we get through these. The teams that did less well last year. Speaking of, we've got another one of our host teams. It is Le Ball de la Foot. Back from their holiday season.
Refreshed.
Yeah, so Vince, what was the plan with the team this year? Do you think you've pulled it off? Are you happy with the team? Happy with how it looks?
I have to say I don't really know. I didn't put too much thought into this draft for various reasons. I got Neymar because I had never gotten him before, and I'm curious to see how that goes. I didn't want to draft any strikers at all, and then at some point, Aubameyang was still available, and I had never gotten him before, and I thought, yeah, he's a striker, but he can be kind of a winger as well, so maybe that works. And hopefully, the manager I will draft will be pairing both Aubameyang and Fekir up top, and that's basically just me trying to make that another Fekir season.
All right, and Whammo, what do you think?
I think it looks okay. I think it's a very good midfield 3. Neymar is obviously one of the best players in Gobshite League. Fekir is one of the most weirdly good. So it really comes down to how much we think the defense can hold up. It's not the worst defense in this league, but I don't think it's the best.
All right, so
let's put it that way.
Where do we think they're going on the tier list?
And just to George's point, where he was saying that Fekir and Neymar may swap there, I was thinking about that as well when I drafted Neymar. But I'm kind of fine with Fekir as number 10, and I was like, yeah, that's fine. He might just do as well as when he was a striker.
Interesting. I'm just going to do that because it's getting on my nerves. 17, 18, 19. And we're going to change this one to 14, 15. And get rid of 17. All right, so where are we going to put Le Ball de la Foot? Top half? Sneaking into the top half? In here? Someone tell me something.
I don't know, middle somewhere.
Middle somewhere.
Yeah, like I don't see us. I don't think we're better than AFC Martyrs. Pardon.
You don't think they're better than Martyrs?
I don't think so. Like they have Benjamin Aguero, man. Like it's hard to compete. But yeah, thinking about it, I would see us fairly low, like 15 to 19, something like this.
Gone.
Right, there we go.
No worries. Right. Well, as Whammer seems to have very briefly stepped out, let's talk about the Pythons.
The Python.
The Pythons. I mean, what can you really say about this?
It's a team with the future at their feet.
Yes. That's the only thing that you can really say is that they have a lot of potential and maybe not the most. Maybe not.
Yeah, sorry about that.
No worries. Yeah, well, we're talking about you now. I don't think. Well, what do you think, Whammer?
I mean, we're going to finish last, obviously. Like, the challenge will be, like, can we do better than the all-striker team? And I don't think we can. Like, we will, like, I would be surprised if we have a point going into the split.
Wow.
Oh, come on. What's the average age of the team?
The average age, I mean, I can't remember off the top of my head how old Rafael Guerrero is, but I'm going to guess 17.
Yeah. It's going to be tough. But like everyone in chat's saying, it's going to be very interesting to watch.
Yeah, like, don't worry, in the second half of the season, I think they might do something, because we'll only be playing against the teams that are doing badly, and the kids will have gotten a lot better by that point, hopefully. But I think that they will struggle to pick up points of any description before then, because the best players in this team, just to give a point of reference, Lucky Radabi and Jacob Jones are the best players in this team, and their CA is like about 130, a little bit over 130. So, like, I don't know exactly about every single Nordic player that Todd has drafted, but as far as I'm aware, nobody has drafted a worse player than the best player I have.
Well, it's going to be fun.
I mean,
and those are the best players. There are starting players in this team who have a CA of 2-digit numbers.
That's going to be great fun. So we're just we won't mess around for too much longer. Let's just drop them in last and move right along.
Yeah, let's
to talk about perennial favourites, the Pocket Dogs, in their last ever season. Apparently, Calvin.
Until the next one.
Calvin's had enough of us. Had enough of us always joking about putting him in first. And what do we think of this team? Because I looked at it earlier and I thought it looked quite bad, but then Reese told me that they're actually quite good. So I don't know. What do we think, James?
I think it's a really good team. Like, not even from a meme standpoint, I think it's really good. I think that Neves is an unexceptional DM, but he'll do a very important job for that team. I really like the front five. Zlatan obviously goes without saying. Aiden Hazard's usually one of the better players. Alaba and Odriozola are both really good fullbacks. Courtois is a solid goalkeeper. Asabi and Manolas are good enough defenders. Yeah, like, not even memeing around. I think it's a good team and will do much better than last season's team did. And then memeing around, they're the reason I said we should put Surreal in second earlier rather than first.
Yeah. And Vince, what do you think?
I just realised the strength and the weakness of that moment. I'm having a laugh.
Yeah, Whammer, you said you said you had no input on that, but you definitely wrote that joke.
Okay, yeah, I wrote that joke. That's the only input I had.
I would agree in that the team is definitely decent. I'm not sold on Ibrahimovic in Football Manager. It might just be me. I don't realize if he's had great seasons in this World Cup cycle. But yeah, the rest of the team is pretty solid. They'll probably do better than last year. Will they pass the splits? There's all the chances they will. Will they win the league? On paper, they would.
All right. Well, we're all in agreement then. We can put our first place in there. And George raises a good point, actually, talking about the year Barcelona won the league. Their midfield didn't seem like the best on paper, but actually turned out to be good. And could this trio of Tielemans, Gundogan, and Neves prove to be the same thing? Potentially.
Worth saying, to your point on Zlatan, Vince, you're correct. He's actually never scored more than 8 goals in a season, which I find pretty amazing, to be honest, because I just sort of filed him away as doing a pretty good job in my head. But, that'll make him, when he does it this season, make it all the better, right?
True. And I believe he's been a substitute for most of the seasons he's played, apart maybe from when he was at WBA. So
yeah,
that would explain why.
Haaland out of the team.
All right, moving on from the Pocket Dogs, let's talk about Half-Man United. Another team doing something slightly different this season, going for an all Nordic 11. How do we think that's going to go for them?
19th.
So, first, I like the identity. I like the style, or the how do you say, the idea, the ideology behind building the team. I do support that very much. Now, that seems a bit unimpressive.
It's definitely relying on Haaland and Odegaard having the seasons of their life, I think.
And Isak as well, right? He did well last season. Did I imagine that? Or was he just on penalty duties? And so in my head, he did well. He
scored a lot of goals because I think he was on penalty duties. But no, he wasn't terrible last season. I think it's going to be tough for them. Nordic team, Joe Jar says, Nordic teams always do better than they are on paper. So, and there's no inherent bias in that at all, so we can just take it as gospel.
Yeah.
So, James, you said 19 straight away. Is there another team other than the formation center of the Pythons that would be worse than them?
Well, we haven't come to them yet, but I feel like there are still some bad teams to get through at this point, and some bad managers. Reece seems to think they're going to score a lot of goals, and they'll do quite well. So everyone's been a lot nicer to them than we are. But we'll leave them in that bracket for the time being and move on to Barcelona, sleeping giants. Had a couple of wonky seasons, Barcelona, I feel like, and I don't know about you, but this kind of change of philosophy, bringing in Simeone and switching to a 4-4-1-1, I think it suits them.
I'm
just as a heads up, I think you're still on the wrong.
I haven't yet. I haven't switched. I have switched now. Here I am, just chatting away about Barcelona. Has that switched over?
Greatly enjoying the strength and weakness.
Yeah.
I mean, when it comes to history, few wonky seasons I think is maybe a bit tough. Although they've set a very strong standard for themselves, they've only had last season that was really below their standards. Like before, they were finishing like 6, 7 or above, so it seems quite okay. And bouncing back from that, Luis Suarez as the icon of the club, Antoine Griezmann. So he's a nutcase, right? Because you want him to do better than he does. So you end up being a bit disappointed in his performances, but every season he still does pretty well for his team. So, like, if you have another good talent next to him, I can't for the life of me remember what Bernardo Silva has done so far in the Gobshite League. But Kovacic, Barella, Donnarumma, Reus, like there are some good prospects around him. So it might be a good season for Barcelona. I'd see it better than last year for sure. Worth the split probably. Much more than that, I don't know.
What do you think, Whammer?
I think they're good. I think that possibly the backline, with the obvious exception of Chiellini, I think is pretty weak. But I do really like the front six. I think Kovacic is one of those players where he's not like he is the weakest of that front six, but he's still good enough. Like he works quite well in like a midfield two alongside a player like Barella. I think that's a really good match, and I think that Reus and Silva are both excellent wingers. And Griezmann, the only season when Griezmann has done really, really well, like he's done consistently pretty damn well. He's usually good for combined goals and assists, or like 15 or so. But he had one season with me where he got 30. He got 20 goals and 10 assists, and that's when he was alongside Haaland. And I think Suarez is one of the few players whose output can actually rival Haaland's. So I think Griezmann will probably have a good season. And I think Barcelona will probably have a good season.
Interesting. You brought up Kovacic then. I usually think he's good for, at least 5 or 6 goals a season, just tugging away. So, I agree with you both. I think that this Barcelona team is actually quite good, and I would like to put them quite high up, kind of in this 3-4-5 territory, really. I think they're a very solid team, all things considered. And I also know that Simeone drags teams to better drags teams to better performances than the sum of their parts, because he's done it for Manchester for 3 seasons, and he did it for Crystal Palace the season before. So I think with a solid team behind it, it's going to be excellent. But yeah, there we are. Let's move on to the Weasels with the Stan Foster Challenge. Someone gave the stream a thumbs down. Awful. We have.
I bet that was core when we didn't put him first.
Probably. He's definitely left since then, or he's gone very quiet. So the Weasels with a unique formation, lots of tactical arrows. The adequate keeper turned out to be, I can't remember, but an adequate keeper.
Bernd Leno.
Yeah. YouTube is not receiving enough video to maintain smooth streaming. That's not a good idea. So what do we think of this madness that is, you can just about see what they're actually aiming for?
One thing I would just want to say quickly is on the Stan Foster part of the Stan Foster Challenge. I noticed that George has not picked Stan Foster on either of the 2 picks he's just made. And that means that he doesn't get to choose his manager until everyone has made all their picks except for me and Francisco with our, having only made 1 keep each. Everyone already has a manager except for the 2 of you.
Right.
So I'm not saying that one of you needs to take Stan Foster to piss George off, but I'm just saying that it's literally possible.
I am. I've got my heart set on a manager this season, so I won't be denying George the Stan Foster Challenge at this stage. I would imagine Vince is feeling the same.
Has Sam Foster ever played in France?
I couldn't tell you.
Well, if he has, I would take him, but I assume he hasn't.
All
And
right.
you know what they say about assuming, right? Anyway, sorry, yeah. I'm distracting us when we're already running over time. Let's
Cool. So let's just put the Weasels in their customary 17, 18, 19 and move on. Yeah?
The problem is because Zarate was a terrible manager, and the Ducks finished what was it, third or something high when the first season when they had Zarate. And it wouldn't amaze me if Stan Foster being shit doesn't stop the team that George has drafted from being good, because he's got mostly pretty good players, at least in the first 11.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. Like Mbappe, Dilva, Koke, even Danny Ings have had good seasons. Like Alba is of course a good wing back. Like it's even with a bad manager, this is not a bad team.
All right. So do we actually want to put them higher up? Kind of. Are they making the cut?
I mean,
good.
I don't think they're that good.
Okay. It's good to know that. Good to know where the bar is. So, are we happy with them in this 12, 13, 14?
Sure.
12. Yeah.
That would be fine for me.
Okay. Let's move on. One more. Only a couple more teams to go. Now we have the Pigs. Pochettino, historically quite a successful manager. I think this is a really solid looking team for Joja, who I think they should deliver the top half finish.
Yeah, I don't see why not. It's a great team.
Yeah, Vince, any insight, any comments?
No, I was just going through the team right now, and yeah, these are really good players at all the positions, right? Like maybe except the central midfield would be slightly weaker, but Theo, Diaz, Pereira, Alisson, even Mengele has had good seasons. De Bruyne, Lukaku, Coutinho. Yeah, that could be contending for a top 3 finish.
Top 3. Yeah. All right. So I've just done a little bit of shuffling. So I'm putting the Pigs in this 3, 4, 5. Are we happy with that? Do we think they need to be just that kind of solid top of the mid-table area, or even higher, even lower?
Yeah, I think that general region I like.
Yeah, if I was to put a dime on a team for this ranking, the Pigs would be good for that. 3, 4, 5 seems where it should be.
One thing I'd say, by the way, is we wanted BBC exactly one place above Reece to annoy him.
All right, well that's doable. Let's put them there. I quite like that. Yeah, and let's just move on from the Pigs. Solid team, Joja. You're gonna do it.
Slam from Reece in the chat.
Fucking hell, yeah, going for it. Anyway, we'll just leave that one out because I don't think anything we can say here. Right. We have West Bromwich Albion. What do we think?
I forgot these when I said 19th for Todd.
Yeah. I think it's... Okay, Reece, we've moved Llamas down out of the top half just because of your little feud with Liam. Okay. Right, yeah, what do we think of Wedge? I think it's going to be a tough ask getting goals out of Benteke and Carroll.
It's going to be a tough ask, but it's going to happen, and when that happens, it's going to be really fun to see their camp just go up.
That is definitely true.
Oh yeah, they're going to be very, very fun to watch. As the WBA teams always are, there's always a lot of highlights in their games. They're not quite Millwall in their level of madness, but there's always an openness to the way they play. So it could be exciting.
Yeah, I'm very curious because as you wrote down, this is the the big lad strike force. I'm curious to see if like the wingers and like the pair of Fabinho and Thiago can serve them correctly. Maybe they, I mean, the plan seems quite visible, but is it strong enough? It's very risky, I guess.
Yeah. So where are we going to put them? I feel like it's a foregone conclusion that we're just going to drop them there because that's where WBA always finish there, or are they going higher? I don't think they've got enough wins in them to get into the top half of the team. Top half of the table.
I can't remember. Are you on the TMA? Oh yeah, okay. Pardon, my screen was lagging a bit. Could they be? I don't realize, but could they be below the split and still 5 places above the AFC Martyrs, which would bring AFC Martyrs as losing the World Cup cycle?
Oh wow,
That's something.
We can
Is that
do
possible?
I think that's
I don't
doable.
realize.
We put them in at like 19 and put WBA in at 12, that kind of thing.
Okay.
I'd be more
I'm just curious to see if.
Thank you for pretending
think-
to discuss WBA seriously. Yeah. I don't think they're there. I think that they're probably closer to that area.
I mean, put them down if you want. I was just curious to see if the name was possible, basically.
definitely is possible. I also still think I'm in with a shout at losing the cycle as well.
Oh, I didn't calculate that.
Like,
Can have
I
a
don't know
quick
how
look if you
high
want.
up Wedge would have to finish to overtake me, but I imagine it's not too high.
Whammer.
The formula.
I've just read
is
your
all-
chat in the main chat, and that is some naughty business. Naughty.
I was
Right.
never going to be doing it.
Okay, just moving on, because that has derailed me slightly. The Chilean Menace, who...
And just to answer your question, James, if you were to finish last this season, Wedge Bromwich Albion would have to finish 8th to pass for you to be below them in the World Cup cycle.
I'm fine. Okay.
All right. Chilean Menace, who have done a kind of... They've gone all under 23, which has definitely made the draft more interesting. What do we think of these lads? Do we think it's a fairly solid team? It's not as good as, I don't know, just in recent memory, the Pigs, for example, but there's no really shocking players in there, I don't think.
Yeah, I mean,
who's
sorry, who are you going to ask about?
who's
Vince, you go.
Mathers already?
James
Oh,
Madison.
Madison. Okay.
I think Martinez up front is a big issue. Like, top 10 as a lone striker won't work. Just won't. The rest of the team's pretty solid. But yeah.
Yeah, not quite. Close, but not quite. I think we're in agreement. So where are we going to drop these lads? Are they 17, 18, 19? Are they better than that? I don't feel like I can put them in the top half of the table. I just don't think they've got the depth for that. Maybe they sit there? That kind of thing? Let's drop Vince down. Do we like that? In at 15th?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. Somewhere between 12 and 15.
Yeah.
I would put them below the Weasels because it felt like the Weasels 11 was better. Yeah.
I quite like them there. So while we're here, do we want any... So just as a kind of a wrap up, that is the table as it stands at the minute. Do we Are we happy with that as our predicted lineup? Do we want to move anyone around? Do we want to move Hios up maybe? Do we want to Millwall down now that we know who their manager is? What do we think? James, I suppose I'll throw to you. You've not spoken for a bit.
Honestly, I'm really not sure. I think there are changes that I would make, but not like super major wholesale ones. I'll do my usual thing of submitting my own predictions as well that slightly undercut these ones.
Yeah, this is the camel the camel prediction that's based on our conversation and stuff. So we can all and everyone can get involved with their own tier maker. We can share it.
Yeah, I do agree with what the chat's saying, that I think Vince is underrating his team quite a lot. I think Vince will do much better than 17th. I think he'll be more I think he'll probably be better than Gillette Menace at least.
All right.
But
bring it up, guys. Bring it up. I'm very happy to be seen as even winning the league.
I think you're about right.
Rick says swap the llamas and label the thirds. Sure. Why not?
All right. I'm just gonna swap. We'll swap them about. Deck chairs on the Titanic and all that. So now I'm hitting save, download, and you can now download image. Cool. We've got it.
I'm going to head off right now
Okay.
because I've got other stuff I need to get done. But thank you for having me on and for running this. It's been a blast.
No worries. Thank you very much, Whammer. Go and enjoy your other stuff. Yeah. Cool. Thank you, everyone who's got involved in the chat. I hope you've enjoyed it. Look forward to the start of the season, which, if we get the draft done tonight, we could be seeing fairly soon. So I'll share the tier maker in the chat so everyone else can have a go at it and we can see how things come out. Apart from that, I just have to say thank you, Vince, for joining us. I know you're very busy at the moment, so it's great that you've taken the time out to come and talk nonsense with me for an hour and a half. That's much appreciated.
Again, it's my pleasure and my privilege, really.
All right. Cool. Thank you all for watching. I suppose there's nothing really left for me to say bye and play us out with a jingle. So thank you very much. Cheers.
It's Gobshite tonight. Show respect, don't start a fight. With all the gimmicks you love to see and some jokes understood by Reese Kennedy. So grab a drink and do what's right. All the cool kids are watching Gobshite.